makes you feel completely present, and then just asking your angels or your guardian angel or any angel you want to connect with, or just saying my angels is probably the easiest way. I'd like to feel you. And then just notice if you feel any sensations in your body, if you get any thoughts kind of put in your head, if you hear anything, if you smell anything, and just start the relationship. Open up to the relationship with curiosity and no expectations. Like, I really want to talk to Archangel Michael. Okay, but maybe Archangel Zadkiel wants to come through and transmute some things. Or maybe you don't even need to think about their names. You can just say, my angels, I want to feel you. What would that feel like? And open up.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Shifting Dimensions podcast, where we explore the unseen, the unknown, and the transformative moments that shift our understanding of reality. I'm your host, Jumi Moses, spiritual seeker and metaphysical investigator, exploring the mysteries of existence. On the show today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Laurie Parente. Laurie is a seasoned angel medium, intuitive guide, and energetic healer dedicated to empowering individuals on their journey of self-discovery. With over a decade of experience in the field, Laurie brings a wealth of knowledge and expertise to her practice. As a CEO and founder of Parente Inner Harmony Academy, Laurie offers private one-on-one sessions, and every Thursday, she offers a 30-minute guided meditation. Her passion lies in fostering genuine connections for her clients with their inner wisdom and spiritual support teams. Laurie, welcome to Shifting Dimensions. It's so good to have you here today.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm excited about this conversation because I love talking about angels. Um, and, later in the conversation, I'm going to ask about angel numbers because I feel like I receive them all the time. But, I've had a few people on the show talk about angels and their work with angels, but I've never had an angel medium on the show. So I'm excited about that. Before we get into what an angel medium is and really what you do in your work, I want to know, when did you discover your psychic abilities, and have you always been in tune with angels?
I was very little. I was like 1, 2 years old, and I was in the hospital. They couldn't figure out what was wrong with me, and this was at a time when families weren't allowed to stay for more than half an hour a day. So my angels were my friends. They were my playmates. They were the ones who read me stories. They were the ones who held me. They were the ones who told me everything was going to be okay. And my mom always said the nurses would say to her, like, she's so sick, but she's so happy. And they were just with me all the time. So I have early memories of that for sure. And then, as it happens, I mean, it was the 1970s, it wasn't a very open world. It wasn't, when I shared, people got scared. So I kind of shut it down for a long time. And it just became this inner world where I was still connected and I talked to the angels all the time, but I didn't share who or what was happening. So then, it kind of really went until my early 40s that I always say the pain of being inauthentic and not listening and not sharing who I was got so loud that I could no longer stuff it down. And it was affecting me physically. So at that point in my early 40s, I just decided to open the door and to start really investigating these connections and taking all these courses, but also going within and really talking to them and learning from them. And, then I started sharing more authentically. I started saying what I was feeling and sensing and hearing. And by that point, then people were more open to it because, of course, I didn't have any resistance myself anymore. So they were mirroring back to me, oh, maybe there's something interesting here going on.
I love what you said, the pain of being inauthentic. Love those choice of words because I think it really captures what a lot of people feel as they go through life, right? Where, whether you have a psychic gift or not, there's so many things in life where there's so many moments where we're programmed to act a certain way. And if we're, straying away from that programming, it's not accepted, right? So we have to push ourselves down internally, right? So when you say the pain of being inauthentic was becoming unbearable, I just thought, wow, that's such a great way to describe it. And I really resonate with that. So when you said it manifested physically for you, what exactly was happening by you kind of like repressing these psychic abilities and not showing up as your full self?
I mean, at that point, I was repressing grief. I was repressing my abilities. Everything was getting stuffed down, and I started to get really bad arthritis, and I started to get, my bones were like the osteoporosis was starting. My bones were actually like the foundation of who I was crumbling. I was sick a lot, and I think also in that time, stuffing down my abilities, stuffing down my light, also stuffed down my joy. Like I was just not really happy. I was just really, really numb in so many ways. And I think that led to a lot of numbing behaviors to just kind of try to feel something. And so it was affecting me physically, it was affecting me emotionally, it was affecting me all the ways. And I was really shown a choice point. I'm, of course, very connected with my dreams and everything. And I just was sitting at a table in my dreams with some loved ones and with some guides. And they just were like, what are you going to choose? Like, are you done here? You want to leave and try this again another time? Or are you going to step into what you chose for this lifetime?
I just got chills, and it's so interesting, right? Because I think the part where you said, are you going to step into what you chose for yourself this lifetime, or are you going to have to like repeat the cycle at a different juncture? Not a lot of people get that opportunity to choose, right? I think that dream is so symbolic. I mean, when I say they don't get a lot of opportunity to choose, they're not presented so vividly with the options, or they don't realize intuitively that this is what's going on. So, when you decided to open back up to this channel, to these psychic abilities, how was that experience for you? Was it overwhelming? Was it scary? Or was it a breath of fresh air to be like, I can finally breathe now?
You know, it's always interesting to me that, when you're ready, the teacher appears, is the saying, right? And then the second part of it is when you're really ready, the teacher disappears. And I love that second part of it too. But I happened to be on Facebook and saw a course for mediumship with James Van Prague, and I just jumped into it. And the very first meditation, I went in, I met with my mom and my nana in spirit, but we were lights, like floating out in the cosmos. And I saw the interconnectedness of who we were and everything, all the energy going between us. And then my mom said, turn around. And I saw billions of lights all over the earth. And some lights were very bright, and some were kind of distorted, and some had shadows, and some were very dark. And she said, open to this now, open to this. It's safe. It's okay to open to this.
Don't worry about the barking.
So I
It's
don't know.
fine. We don't,
Mm.
yeah, it's
Okay.
it's fine. I mean, we don't have to, it doesn't have to be perfect. I mean, we're two people living our lives and trying to record a podcast, so it's totally fine. Um, Thank you so much for sharing that. So I kind of want to go back a little bit in time. So you said that growing up you could see angels, right? What did they look like to you? Did they have the wings? There are images of angels being babies with wings and all these different images. So what did the angels really look like to you?
So I always say I saw angels, but my dominant sense is actually clairaudience. And it's not in hearing all the time, it's like impressions. And so I'm impressed with what I would call cosmic sounds. And then I will get a little bit of an image on my inner screen, like pops. So I would see pops of color, I would see pops of gold, pops of white, but I would just hear that they were there, and then I would sense that they were there. And if I really tuned in, I could bring them in. But for me, there were more just orbs of light.
Fascinating. So do you see them the same way now? Is that imagery sensation consistent now that you've turned that channel back on? Do you still kind of get the impressions more than actual like
Right.
outlines and images of beings?
Yes. I mean, I'll see orbs with my eyes open, but when I go within, it's more color and sensation and sound. So interesting. No one's ever asked me that before. It is very similar to when I was younger, and it's really colors. And I don't know if you can see this right now, Jimmy, but there's like light all around me. I don't know if you sense that. And people will always say like my light moves in and out when we're on camera. And people will come up to me and say, I can see this light around you when we're in person. And so for me, it's all about light and color and sound and frequency and vibration.
It's so interesting that you bring it up about the light around you. All I can say is when I first saw your picture on Podmatch, right, when I went to your profile, there was this light that was coming from your picture. I don't know if it was something I was seeing physically with my physical eyes, but more of a sensation and like an impression almost, if that's the right way to put it, like almost seeing it through my third eye. And then when I saw that you worked with angels, I'm like, oh my gosh, like they're around her, like she has this light that is exuding off of her and just this like angelic presence almost, right? And I really do sense that from you, honestly. So it's interesting that other people sense it from you too, because like I said, I've come across so many different people, but I feel like people who work with angels have this like presence to them. There's this energy around them that you can really sense. So yeah, I'm so happy that you brought that up because I've been sensing that just through your pictures and even talking to you right now.
And I think that's important for people to know. I would say in all of my work, not too many people see an inner screen that's beautiful, just like a movie. And I mean, when they do, I always get them to explain it to me. We all have different ways that we sense angels and presences and our guides. And I think some people are like, but I want to see it. I want to see it. And it's about going with what works for you. Maybe you're sensing it, maybe you're hearing it, maybe you're smelling things, and just leaning in with curiosity and closing your eyes. If there is an angel around me, which there always are, can I kind of sense something on my body? Can I hear something? And just being very, very curious and not trying to go with, I need this Hollywood movie running in my mind.
Absolutely. And another thing about your aura that I'm picking up is just this sense of peace, right? And whenever I feel angels or sense angels around me, that's the overpowering feeling I feel, which is just like this peace and groundedness. Even though I don't think I generally feel peace, but that like angelic peace I haven't necessarily felt in a while. And I felt that the last time I felt that was when I was a child. I think I was like maybe 8, 9, 10, around that time. And my dad was sick. And I remember just like praying, when I was younger, people would always say like, God hears the prayers of kids more than adults. So I was like praying and I was crying. I was like, oh my gosh, like fix my dad because he had pneumonia at the time. And I go to sleep, and then through my third eye, I see this angelic presence over me right next to my bed. It had the outline of a man with a robe almost. I don't remember if I saw wings, but it was just they were really bright and I could see them clearly through my third eye. And it's hard to explain, right? Because my eyes weren't open, but I know the presence was there and it was a peace and it was basically an understanding that my dad's going to be okay. So I slept so peacefully that night. So just interacting with you, I can feel that like peace that I felt at that time.
Once we've felt it, we can call back that frequency anytime. So
Mm,
you know what it feels like, you know all the sensations, and you can just call that back in and just start to feel it again. And then that opens up the connection. And peace is something that always comes along with the angelic presence. So I will say to people, think of a time in your life when you felt peace and embody that, bring it in. And then, say, okay, I'm ready to connect. And it never needs to be scary or frightening. It's because it's so peaceful and it's so almost ethereal. There's never any fear around it.
zero fear. Yes, I resonate with that so much because seeing that through my third eye, when you're interacting with a other dimensional being could be scary for some, but I felt so peaceful. So, what does it mean to be an angel medium?
So it means that I work with angels. I have a team of angels that will come through. So I'll just give an example of like when I'm in a one-on-one session, I will connect in with my angels. My angels will connect in with the team and spirit of the person I'm working with. And then they will relay messages through me. So it's always like I step aside a little bit and I'm watching and I'm listening and I'm hearing, and then sometimes I'll kind of jump in with some humor when I see some places for humor, but I'm channeling that angelic frequency, that angelic wisdom, that angelic knowing.
Okay, so the medium part, my understanding is mediums are people who are able to connect with people on the other side. So it sounds like when you're working with a client and connecting with their loved one on the other side, there's an angel that's with that loved one on the other side. And instead of connecting to the loved one who's crossed over, you're connecting, the angel is kind of like the intermediary almost. Is that a good understanding of what you're saying?
Yeah, and it all just happens like that, right? Like it's coming through, and I will feel the presence of different frequencies of different angels. I know that there's a big, who is this angel? Is it Archangel Michael? Is it Archangel Raphael? And sometimes I will feel like a deep presence of one of the archangels, and other times it's just this angelic light, and it will feel differently for different people. So I know that I'm connecting in with their angels. Now, something that has been coming through kind of lately is when we talk about having a guardian angel with us in all of, that's with us from the day we're born till the day we die, and perhaps in other lives, that this is perhaps when we're working with angels more of a higher self aspect of who we are. Like we're all angels. And
Fantastic.
and this is coming through as our guardian angel is actually an aspect of us.
Well, that's so interesting that you say that because a lot of times people say that angels are a completely separate dimensional entity. And a lot of times they don't even reside where people cross over to. They're like in a much higher dimension. So it's interesting that you're saying that, there are aspects of us that are angelic. You're the first person I've actually heard say that. So, yeah, that is very interesting. But I think it's also interesting that you say that we all have guardian angels. So, what is the difference between a guardian angel and a spirit guide? Can they be both? Do angels intercede once in a while, or are they more present with us, or do they come in on a needs basis versus our. I know this is a lot of I'm throwing so many things at you, but again, what's the difference between a an angel and a spirit guide, and which one is with us most of the time?
So, I mean, so much of this is human constructs, and our mind needs to make sense of things. And the big thing that's always coming through me is it's not about the constructs of our mind, it's about how it feels. So, an angel is going to feel differently to you. They are the ones who are bringing through messages. They can interfere in moments of dire circumstances. We've all seen those videos where there's a lady crossing the street and then all of a sudden she's just on the other side. It wasn't her time. Um, but they're just this, I like to use the word benevolent, peaceful feeling. That's what angels feel like. And they will hint at wisdom, but it's more of a feeling. And then for me, spirit guides are more like, I'm sitting down talking to a teacher. Like this is a professor teaching me something that is opening me up to something more. And our spirit guides can be our loved ones. They can be, people we don't believe we know in this lifetime. Like there's so many possibilities for what our spirit guides can be. I do feel them differently than angels, um, but to categorize them mentally is a little bit more difficult, if that makes sense.
Of course, and I know, as human beings, like you said, we try to label things because we want to kind of understand and put things in boxes because that's just kind of how our mind works. But just to make sure I fully understand, you can sense the difference in the beings that you're interacting with based on their frequency and their vibration. So do angels tend to have a higher vibration than spirit guides, or is it not like is it hard to kind of compare it that way?
Yeah, I mean, higher, lower, it's just how it feels to me, how it lights me up, how it, yeah, really just how it feels on my body and in my heart. And it, angels just feel more expansive to me, if that makes sense. And spirit guides feel more like just this ball of energy that comes forward.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So, who's your favorite angel to work with? Do you have a favorite? Because I know you said that, people are really big on, oh, I feel the presence of Angel Michael or Angel Raphael. Do you have an angel that you consistently work with that you feel connected to the most?
I would say at this time there are two. So definitely Archangel Raphael, big into the healing, big into the green ray, bringing through. I always say when I work with people, I'm not doing the healing, they are. They've just come to me to kind of rake the path so that they can walk forward and embody more of their light by releasing, those old stories and beliefs and constructs and using that green ray to really help them to release. And then my other one is the Angel of Miracles. And to me, she's just bright white. Everything about her is bright white. She has golden eyes. And for working with her, it's opening up our consciousness to know that everything is a miracle and we can step into miracles and live that life. Marianne Williamson says a miracle is a shift in perception. So we can shift how we're seeing things, how we're behaving, how our relationships are going, how we're connecting. And so the angel of miracles is always very present for me, saying, with the how can I reframe this? How can I shift this? How can I open to more love in this moment?
That's so beautiful. And that's part of what this podcast stands for, that shift in perspective. And I've had a few conversations now talking about coincidences and miracles. So I feel like that's an ongoing theme. So thank you so much for bringing that up. That's beautiful. I was going to ask something else and I just lost my train of thought. Oh, I was going to ask about angel numbers because people talk about angel numbers all the time. I personally believe I get angel numbers all the time, all the time. So are angel numbers a thing?
There are angels just kind of tapping us on the shoulder, giving us a little bit of encouragement, giving us a little message of like, you're not alone. Because I think so many people will think, I'm doing this life alone, but you're not. There's, so much support for you. The thing with angel numbers for me is that people will say, what does this mean? And 1 1 means this, 2 2 means this, and you'll read a book and you'll look it up and, oh, I saw 5 5 5 today, what does that mean? For me, we're all so individual and our angels are working with us to expand our light. So it's really important to sit and say, what does 1 1 mean to me? Not what somebody else is saying that it means. What does 2 2 2 mean to me? When I see that, what is coming through for me? So I have different ideas for what happens when I see angel numbers, and then I can connect in with other people and say, this is what they're saying it is for you. How does that feel to you? So I think it's all about what works for you. Everyone needs to be individual. There's no, gurus anymore that we're following. It's what is it for you?
It's so good that you bring that up because I have heard that before, that rather than being so drawn to what it says online that the numbers mean, check in with yourself, like what was going on with you at the time when you saw that number? What were you thinking about? What were you pondering? So then kind of relate that, at least that was a tip to kind of relate that to that angel number as maybe confirmation or encouragement for whatever you're dealing with. So I think that's very important. And to your point about relying on your own intuitive knowing and interpretation, I think there's a huge call back to the self and not necessarily leaning on the external world, leaning on someone to tell you what messages you're receiving. And I think that's very important that you brought that up because on this current path journey towards the self, which a lot of people are on, that's why like religion is starting to take a back seat and people are coming forward and more into spirituality. There's this emphasis on intuitive guidance. Like, how does something resonate for you? And I always say this to people that, like, it's one thing to hear what someone is saying, but how is it sitting for you? Listen to your own inner guidance. You have the answers for yourself, for your reality, and for your life. So I really love that you brought that up. Another question I have for you is like when you're bringing a loved one into a session, right? And you said the angels are with them. Do the angels still follow those who might still be tethered to the earthly plane? Like those who have not been able to cross over to the other side? Have you had any of those experiences?
So early on, I set the intention for what I was willing to work with. And that was not something that called to me. However, I do kind of a lot of work behind the scenes. So when I'm in meditation, I have a special, I have a place where I go called Soul Sanctuary, and I teach this. And I have a place in my Soul Sanctuary where souls will come to me, just much like what I do on the physical plane. They'll come to me, and I have had some occurrences where someone will come to me and say, my mom is ready to pass, but she won't pass. She's staying here. Help me. And so I'm within, and I go and I find myself perhaps in the hospital room, and I'm communicating with that soul and telling them that it's okay to go, and perhaps removing any beliefs or anything or any fears. So I do have that happen. I'm not really, I don't know how I feel about people who say like there's ghosts and there's tethered to the earth. I feel like those are more like echoes that really sensitive people can pick up on. And so I've never been like, from the old Ghost Whisperer show, like, okay, go to the light, that isn't part of my experience.
Okay, I love how you said at the beginning that when you started doing this work, you set the intention for what you're comfortable with versus what you're not. And I think sometimes, and I can speak for myself, I shy away from my psychic abilities because I'm like, I just don't know what I'm going to come in contact with on the other side. Not from a fear bait. Well, it's fear, of course, because I've I know enough now to know that there are beings of the light and then there are beings that are,
Right.
have lower frequencies. And I'm just like, I want to protect myself, so I'm just gonna block it off completely.
Right.
Yeah.
That's all about intention, right? I
Hmm.
intend to connect with those of the highest vibration that will bring the most healing and wisdom for myself and for others. I did have one experience early on where I was in a meditation and a being came through that I was just like, "Whoa, I'm not comfortable with this. Angels, this is your job. This is not my job. This is your job. Let's just no. I don't want any contact with that because I don't want to be afraid of who I am and what I do."
Absolutely. And there was something else that you said, going back to the ghost part really quickly. So what I'm understanding, is it that you're saying you don't necessarily believe in ghosts, or that's just like not something you care to work with, so you don't think too much about it? I just want to make sure I understand.
Yeah, I mean, there are spirits, right? I don't know about the term ghosts because I think it's become this thing for us to fear. But definitely there have been places where there are echoes of spirits. But you're right, it's just not where I've chosen to work. And the people who do that work, that's what works for them. And I think that's beautiful for them.
Well, I think it's good to know that there's a choice in this because I've heard some psychics say that, with this work, I don't think they necessarily said you have to be open to all types of spirits, but like protect yourself. But there are some psychics who, you know, work with both ends of the spectrum. I had someone who channeled angels and she channeled Angel Michael and also Angel Zadkiel, which I don't know if he's the same as Angel Raphael. But she was saying that the conversation got to the point where I asked her, I was like, are all angels of the light? Are they all in the light? That was my understanding. And of them. And she basically said not all angels are of the light, right? So as above, so below, the law of correspondence. So we kind of got into that a little bit, which I found very fascinating because I only think of angels, in the light. So I don't know if you have anything to add to that, but happy to move on to a different question.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's all about what their purpose is and what they've
Mm-hmm.
came, what their understanding is. And my guides will always say that we forget that we are the CEO of our experience. We're the CEO of our team. We're the
Mm-hmm.
ones leading the show. It's not like we're going in and they're taking over and telling us what to do. We're the ones who put our hands up somehow, maybe kind of foolishly, and decided we'd come to this time on earth when there's so much going on. And so we are the ones who were brave enough and strong enough to come here. We volunteered to come here, and we are in control of our experience. I have that question come up all the time, but what if I go in and I meet with something dark? Well, what if you just set the intention? That's not going to happen. Just to set the intention to be with the light.
Absolutely. Okay, so I want to start talking about healing because you also work as a healer. So do you work with angels during healing sessions, and what type of healing do you offer to people? So meaning, is it like a physical healing or more of like an energetic type of healing?
So it's energetic. Definitely it's the way that I work with energy is to work on shamanic journeys. So we really move the energy very quickly. And the way that we work with energy is to go within the heart. We're doing the heart healing. We're opening up the heart. We're dealing with any heart walls. We're dealing with anything that is stuck in the body, any old ways of being or stories or conditions, anything that is perhaps not allowing the full light to be within the body. And I know that when I first started this work, I thought it was kind of we're going out of the body to heal, but no, it's about being really embodied and allowing your light to grow in your body by releasing all of the things that are a little bit dense or a little bit tough that are sitting in your body and in your energetic field.
Okay, and you work with the angels to help kind of release those energetic blocks and heal those woundings or energetic traumas that people have sustained. So why is it important? Sorry, I just, you were nodding, but you probably wanted
Yeah, it's
speak
just
so that people can hear you. Yeah.
as I said before, like in sessions, I'm channeling. They're showing me what's coming through. I'll often sit down for just 5 or 10 minutes, get a couple of points come through me, and then I'm really stepping aside, but I'm in charge of stepping aside and then allowing them to come through. And so it's always very exciting to me for them to say, with somebody, you've got something sitting on your left knee, and they'll say, yeah, like I've had surgery with this knee and it doesn't work. And I'll be like, okay, they will be through me. This is what it is, and this is what it's going to take to release it. So it's always very channeled. I never know what's going to come through. And I always trust that they'll come through with what is the highest and the best for that client.
Okay, fascinating. I was going to ask you, so you're channeling them. So it's not a situation where they're whispering something in your ear. Do they take over your consciousness? I don't know if that's the right word, but
I'm
how do you channel them? How does that work?
I'm very conscious of I know what's going on, but it is not words that I would normally say, and it's not something I would know. When I'm working with someone who's a stranger to me, I don't know that they've had surgery on their knee. But when they come through, they will say that, and then we'll work with the knee. So it's not like I'm not conscious. I'm just kind of a little bit to the side, and they're coming through. Um, does that make sense?
Yeah, so it's your a direct channel. It's is it the same thing as a trance channel? Like when a being enters someone's body and takes over?
So I know trans channels, most of them that I've seen, they're kind of unconscious of what's happening, or they'll just get snippets. So I would say I'm a conscious voice channel. Many times they will show me that even though the words are coming out and coming to the client, it's actually the energy that is helping them. So the words are just like a mental placeholder, but they will be working with angels on both sides energetically.
That's beautiful. Are you able to do that remotely or do you have to be in person?
So most of my work is remote,
Okay.
um, but I also am able to do it in person as well. It's different in
Mhm.
person, but it's the same effect.
Okay. With what you described about, for example, you know, through the channeling, being able to assess someone having knee surgery and, assess why they're not healing, is that the same thing as being a medical intuitive?
So yes, in some ways, like they will come through with things that are physical, emotional, mental, spiritual. And so it's just kind of like, I always say, like a holistic approach, mind, body, soul. And it's whatever the client needs at that time. So sometimes we'll work with physical things. Sometimes it will be like a mental pattern that we're going to break up. Sometimes it will be something that is emotional that's stuck in the body. So they're able to go into all different facets of someone's being, which in the end, it's all one.
Do they assess people's past lives as well if there's like a trauma or energetic blockage coming from a different incarnation?
Yeah, we will do past life work. We'll do Akashic Records work. It's
Mm,
like when I first opened up to this, I took courses in absolutely everything and really opened up to everything spiritual, everything metaphysical, everything quantum. I even tried to teach myself quantum physics. That didn't go over so well, but I understand the quantum field now. So, with me doing that and then also learning from them, but also from going within, it really expanded me with my team to have kind of all of the tools. I would say I have a huge toolbox, and whatever we're working with for the person, whatever is the best for them, then those tools come through. So there is medical mediumship, there is mediumship with loved ones, there's healing, you know, there's so much going on, and I'm always just fascinated by what happens.
it's so fascinating. It's so fascinating to me that this work is possible. And I know people definitely find true healing from it. I actually had someone on the podcast recently who talked about remote healing, right? They were struggling with cancer and they were able to get healed remotely because of the intuitives and psychics that they were working with. So, I guess my next question is, and this is more of an antidotal question, has there been anyone you worked with, whether it's bringing someone from the other side to speak with their loved one or through a healing session that was really profound for you? That was a really, like, I don't want to say life-changing experience, but something that you think about often that you'd like to share?
Oh, there's so many. Two are really coming to mind right now. One was with a woman in her 60s who had had headaches her whole life. And, every day was taking medication for her headaches. And it kind of was just her story. She's just like, I have headaches. I'll have headaches every day until I die. And that's just what my life is. And it was actually through a group meditation that she was at, and we were releasing some old stories and old beliefs. And she messaged me the next day and said, I woke up without a headache. I haven't woken up without a headache for 45 years. And then I said, okay, let's just keep on it and see what happens. And she's never gone back. When things are ready to release, sometimes it's that easy that all you need is the one pop of releasing a belief, and then it changes you physically. And she had to figure out who she was without these headaches now because it had become part of her story. And the other one that's coming to me is working with someone who had so much armor, who had had so many experiences that she'd just armored up. Like everything had just, she was tight in this armor. They were showing me like armor from the knights, in the Templar knights. And she was ready to release this. And we both saw it like kind of go down some stairs, clunk, 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 and disappear. And the change in her physically without this armor is probably one of the most profound things I've seen. But there's so many. When people come to me and they're deeply grieving and we connect with their people and I show them how to connect with their people on their own, It changes their grief. Yes, they still wish they were here, and they're feeling their love still. So it changes how people grieve. So there's so many profound ways this work can be life changing, and it's all about, as you said, going within what works for you, what feels right for you, what lights you up, what changes your perspective, and really being discerning about who you are working with on your journey.
Oh, that's so good. And so there are two parts there, and I'm going to put the having discernment on who you're working with as part of your journey on the back burner. But you talked about really embracing our inner light, and that's something that you love to do in your work, which is like get people to find that inner light and illuminate it within themselves. Why is that important for you? Why is that a mission for you in this work?
Well, we teach once we're healed through something, right? We don't teach from the wound. We teach from the healed part of us. And so that was such a part of my story of having everything just stuffed down and really dimming my own light to fit in, that I teach people the best way to fit in and the best way to love yourself and the best way to be authentic is to shine your light. It's the opposite of what we've been told.
So speaking about discernment, why is that important for people to keep in the back of their head, right? Because you said it's important to have discernment on who you're working with as you go through this journey. So when you say working with, are you talking about people who might be going to other psychic practitioners, looking for spiritual insights? And why is it important to be discerning?
So it's working with practitioners, but it's also in where, with friends and with family, and everything that you're working with is what you're about to share. Taking that moment, either share or share in, is it a full body yes for you? Do you understand the difference between your no and your yes in your body? Because your body will always show you the way. And energetically, to just go within and say, body, what does my no feel like? And then, body, what does my yes feel like? And that is your discernment tool. Because then, I'm having this idea of going with this friend for lunch, but I'm not sure how it feels. Body, show me my yes, show me my no, and now show me, is this the right thing for me to do today? And if you get a yes, even though you were feeling like you didn't want to go, are you brave enough to follow that yes? And if you get a no and it was something you were excited to do, are you brave enough to follow that no? And for me, that's what discernment is. It's the difference between yes and no. And your body will help you in that process.
That's something I'm actively working on all the time, just trusting myself, right? Because, like you said, you might have a certain knowing, and then you ask someone for advice, and they're like, "Oh, you should go see that friend." And you're like, "I just don't feel like it today." But then they convince you, like, "Well, you haven't been out for 10 days. You should go out." And then all of a sudden, it shifts from a no, I shouldn't hang out with this friend to a maybe I should or yes, I should. And then you force yourself to go out. But then sometimes what I struggle with personally is that when I'm trying to figure out is this a yes or a no, sometimes I get a maybe. So is it always is the body that black or
Right.
white with yes or no's, or do we get maybes sometimes, and how can we lean into those maybes?
So for me, the maybes are the not yet. So it's a little bit different for me. So if I'm connecting in and I'm like, okay, I think I really want to chat with this person and do this, and I get not yet, then I know it's just a pause. And it's really, people will say, I know what my yes feels like. I will know what my no feels like. But I always say, do it every time. Body, show me my yes. Body, show me my no. And then present the situation. Because in saying, show me my yes and show me my no every time, you're becoming embodied and you're really listening. And so just take that moment to tune in every time for every choice and then present the choice.
Very fascinating, especially the part, all of it is fascinating, but the part of the not yet. And I feel like I've gotten that before, but then my mind is like, well, why not yet? You know what I mean? And then there's this fear that comes in where it's like, am I saying not yet because I'm scared or I'm trying to procrastinate again or like, maybe I'm self-sabotaging. But again, I that's for me to figure out, not for you to tell me.
So
But yeah.
it's always about trust, because when you're tuning in, that first sensation or that first knowing is the one you want to pay attention to, because then right away your mind will try to talk you out of it. Right away. I say, but all my friends are going and I really wanted to go, but I got to know. And trusting that no, my no came first, and I'm not going to allow my brain to talk me out of it. Our brain's its purpose is to think thoughts and keep us safe. So when our heart goes, no, this is a not yet for me, I'm going to stick with that, and I'm not listening to all these reasons why I shouldn't listen.
Thank you for
I'm not
sharing
trying
that.
to figure it out.
Exactly. Exactly. So for those who are listening who want to connect with their angels more, maybe they want to find out who their guardian angel is, how can they do that?
So it's always about first figuring out how to quiet, not completely, but how to quiet your mind. What works for you? Is it doing some breath work? Is it being out in nature? Is it putting on a guided meditation? Is it, just sitting and embodying that feeling of peace that we talked about? What allows you to feel present and not in your head? And many people will say, I can't meditate, I can't get present because my thoughts never stop. And it's always kind of a funny thing for me, because I say, well, if your thoughts stop, you're dead. So I don't think we really want that. So find what works for you. Explore some different breathwork techniques or some different meditation. And I would say just do like 2 or 3 minutes, just until you feel yourself kind of drop into this present moment. And perhaps it's for you, it's staring at a plant, or it's just, putting your hand on a tree. What makes you feel completely present? And then just asking your angels or your guardian angel or any angel you want to connect with, or just saying my angels is probably the easiest way. I'd like to feel you. And then just notice if you feel any sensations in your body, if you get any thoughts kind of put in your head, if you hear anything, if you smell anything, and just start the relationship. Open up to the relationship with curiosity and no expectations. Like, I really want to talk to Archangel Michael. Okay, but maybe Archangel Zadkiel wants to come through and transmute some things. Or maybe you don't even need to think about their names. You can just say, my angels, I want to feel you. What would that feel like? And open up that relationship, because they're just waiting. Whenever you open up to it, it's like a party. They'll start giving you presents and party hats and woohooing all around. They're waiting for you to connect with them, because we have free will. That's part of being human. So it's up to us to connect.
That's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much for this fantastic conversation. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm sure you could tell by like how crazy I was with the questions and excited I was. I have to ask you because I ask this question to all my guests, and that is, have you shifted in perspective on anything recently? And it could be as lighthearted or as deep as you'd like it to be.
So interesting that just before we got on, my dad came through. It's his birthday today, so happy heavenly birthday. And I've been working with a scarcity wound that's been in my family for generations, ever since, I think probably before, but it manifested big in the Depression era. And I was looking at the scarcity from like kind of a more financial kind of abundance that's run through the family. And he said to me, the scarcity wound is deep. It's about health and finances and food insecurity and relationships. It's about so much more. It's this bigger wound. And then he showed me this like big piece of driftwood, and he helped me break it, and we're working with the scarcity wound together. So when things come up for you, you have this whole team in spirit. You don't have to do it all alone. So remember that you never ever are doing this alone.
That's so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that story. How wonderful is that? Happy heavenly birthday to your dad. Where can people find you if they want to connect with you, work with you, or just learn more about you?
So everything is just under my name. My website is laurieparente.com, and it has my offerings on that. And then I'm on Instagram mostly at Laurie Parente, Facebook a little bit, YouTube a little bit, but it's mostly Instagram for me. That's where I have my little corner of social media.
Amazing. I'm going to leave all those links in the show notes. Thank you, Laurie, for stopping by Shifting Dimensions.
You're so welcome. I'm so grateful to you. Thank you.